Happy Camper Radio starts in 3, 2, 1. Hello, my friends, and welcome back once again to the Happy Camper Radio Show, the only place you need to be when you're ready to talk camping. Camping is what we're about. Camping is all we talk about. We're so glad to have you on board. It is fall. It is my season to camp, and in just a few days from now, I will be packing my gear into the truck, loading wood into the trailer, and I'll be talking about that here in just a couple of minutes. And I will be heading to the North Georgia mountains where I will relax for about 4 straight days. I am so excited. I am so pumped up about it. I'm just beside myself. And it happens every year at this time because the fall season, like I say, is the season that I do a lot of my camping. I'm not really too much into the summertime camping and the springtime camping, simply because, the warm temperatures, I just do not agree with them. It does not agree with me. But the cool temperatures where I can put on a sweater or put on a coat and still sit by the fire and be comfortable, that's my style of camping right there. And I'm so much looking forward to it. Our phone number here at the Happy Camper Radio Show is 404-537-CAMP. That's 404-537-2267. Feel free to pick up the phone anytime and give us a call with your camping questions, your comments, anything you'd like to talk about. We'd love to have you on the show. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to your circles on Google+. Of course, there's one convenient location you can go for any one of our social media icons, and that's our homepage, which is www.happycamperradio.com. Take some time to browse around, look at the pictures, the information that we have online, and while you're at it, make sure to click on the RSS feed button if you haven't already done that, so you can subscribe to the show and never miss a single episode. And speaking of the cool weather, I'm going to go ahead and light our campfire now. It's getting a little bit chilly, and I've got a few extra logs tossed on the fire too to kind of keep us warm and keep the conversation going. If you haven't already done so, grab your camping chair, your camping recliner, your hot beverage, whatever you're drinking, that hot cider, maybe that hot cocoa with a dash of whipped cream in it. It's just, see how excited I am? But grab yourself and grab a friend, pull up next to the fire. We're going to have a great fireside chat today. This is the Happy Camper Radio Show. Well, it's kind of quiet in the studio, and you know what that means. Daniel has taken his time to go on vacation. Him and his wife, they did go to Florida. If you caught our last episode, which was episode 77, I rode Daniel's coattail more than I really should have. Daniel had the idea of talking about the idea of camping making economic sense. Was it going to be more economic sense to check into a motel room or to grab your gear, load it up into your vehicle, and go to a campground? Well, Daniel decided he was going to go camping in a hotel room. And yes, I gave him a hard time. And I'm sure he's going to have a lot to talk about when he returns here into town. And I understand he's going to be coming back into town tomorrow. And that's going to be a day before I leave on my trip, and I will be gone all the way through next Sunday. And if all goes well, when I get up there to camp and we have a good turnout, I am going to do a podcast from the North Georgia mountains, way back in the woods. And I've got everything that I need. I've got my show notes. I've got my gear. I just got to do a little bit of audio testing and just get these guys together because they, I promise you, will provide the best camping entertainment next to Daniel, of course. And we'll have a lot to talk about with those guys up there in the North Georgia mountains. I also have a show topic in mind, and I won't let that cat out of the bag right now. But I think you're going to enjoy it, and that will be episode 79 coming up next week on the show. It's time to do some shout-outs without Daniel's little, well, and I'm going to go ahead and do it for him. Anyway, this week we want to say hello to the Getaway Van in Portugal. And here's a guy I know. I've worked with him. I've been around him. A good friend of mine, John Gardner. He's from the state of Georgia here in the U.S. John, I hope to see you up at camp next week. Also to Barnsdale Leisure in the UK, Moncho Elizdal in Chile, to Omnicom Online, Stoford Farms Meadow in the UK, and finally to First Class Campers. Every one of them followed us this past week on Twitter. Thank you all so very much for joining us and being a part of the Happy Camper Radio family. Have you liked us on Facebook? If you have not, go do that right now, because this past week, I went ahead and posted a picture of my brand new utility trailer, which I have been raving about. The trailer that I had, that I used to haul gear, to haul my camping equipment, to haul firewood, was a little 6x8 trailer, and that lasted me probably about 15, 17 years, something like that. Anyway, it seen its good life, and it was time to put it out to pasture. It needs some repairs. I'm going to go ahead and get those repairs done, and I'm going to put it up for sale, maybe make a few extra bucks on it. I did put some new wheels on it. But right now, this brand new utility trailer, I snapped a picture of it this past week, and I put it on Facebook for every one of our listeners to take a look at. It is fantastic. Cost a little bit of money, but it's going to last me probably a lifetime now. It will haul about 3,000 pounds worth of gear. Not that I have that much gear, but adding the firewood in there, it's going to pop that weight rating up a little bit there. It's got dual axles, a high metal side, and again, check it out on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Happy Camper Radio. Make sure you like us on Facebook, and and we'll have a lot of stuff there for you to take a look at besides my brand new trailer. But I'm raving about that too, as much as I am this camping trip. So check it out this week on Facebook, and I'll be putting it to use again this coming Wednesday. Looking forward to it. Can't wait to back my truck up to it and head up to the North Georgia mountains. Our friend Gary Sizer on the Appalachian Trail, he is in his final stretch now, I am so happy to say. Gary has traveled more than 2,000 miles already into his journey. Isn't that something? Congratulations, Gary. He doesn't have that far to go. We did get an email from him about 3 days ago. He passed through Monson, Maine. He is actually in his 100-mile wilderness journey, and the only thing that remains after he gets out of that section of the woods is Mount Katahdin, and that's going to be the end of his journey. And Gary can stand up high on that mountain and proudly say that he hiked the Appalachian Trail. We are about as excited here at the Happy Camper Radio Show as is Gary. This has been a long journey for him. It's going to be a rewarding one. Not everybody can do what Gary did, and that's hike from the state of Georgia to the state of Maine and proudly tell his kids, his grandkids, and everybody out there who wants to listen that he hiked the entire length of the Appalachian Trail. He's going to have a lot to talk about, and as we mentioned in the very beginning, Gary plans on writing a book. And when that book is published, I promise you, I will probably be the first one in line outside of his family to get a signed autographed copy of that book. And we'll make sure we can tell all of our listeners here on the Happy Camper Radio Show how they can go about getting a book once Gary gets it published. If you haven't already checked out his website to see his entire journey, you can do that by going to happycamperradio.com, and we've got a link right there on our homepage to Gary's journey. And just check it on out and see all the wonderful pictures from start to finish that Gary has posted on his webpage. It's very breathtaking. He's made a lot of good friends out there, and a lot of the photographs he's taken is really off the charts. I really am so excited for him. Hey, you want to be a guest on the Happy Camper Radio Show? Very simply, email Daniel or myself, Skip, SKIP, at happycamperradio.com, or Daniel at happycamperradio.com. Let us know that you would like to be on the show. The easiest thing to do is sign up for a Google Plus account if you haven't already done that, because we send out information on Google Plus. Just make sure that you add Happy Camper Radio to your circles, and we can add you back once we get that notification. That's the easiest thing to do. And from time to time, we're going to be posting some notices out there to some of our listeners and inviting them to be on the show. We'll give you an idea what the show topic is, or if maybe you will have something in mind you would like to discuss. Maybe you have a camping question and you want to be on our show. You can do that. Just get a Google Plus account. Otherwise, get in touch with Daniel and I, because we have other ways that we can bring you on the show, including the old traditional telephone. Hey, one thing I want to do before I get started here is I want to update you on a story that I brought to you. It was back in episode 43. We were talking about campfires and wildfires at that time. And pretty much that episode, and incidentally, if you haven't already heard that, you can always go to our webpage, happycamperradio.com, and click on the podcast episodes tabs and go back and search for episode 43 and hear it from start to finish. In that episode, I talked extensively about the Colby Fire, which was in Glendora, California. It's a wildfire that erupted in the early part of this year. And unfortunately, it was started in a red flag region. For those of you who don't know what red flag regions are, and most of you should, it's an area that has been designated very dangerous for campfires, and everything is ripe for wildfires. It is an area that you do not want to set a fire in any circumstance whatsoever. Unfortunately, back in the early part of this year, there were 3 individuals who were, I don't know if they were on a camping trip or they were just on an overnight outing or what the case was, because I really can't get into the minds of these individuals, but I don't believe there was any ill intent here at all. But what they ended up doing is they started a campfire in this red flag region. Whether or not they knew it was red flag or not is a matter of discussion. But anyway, what ended up happening is somebody threw some paper on the fire. The paper caught fire. It got away from the fire. It caught fire to some vegetation nearby, and almost immediately the fire started to grow. It got out of control, and it caused millions of dollars in property damage as well as firefighting costs. And in the end, these 3 individuals who were trying to flee the scene, so I understand, and I'm basing this strictly upon news stories that I have read, they were apprehended, they were charged, and they ended up in federal court. I wanted to go ahead and bring you an update on this, and I mentioned that I would follow up on it. Just recently, these 3 individuals, well, actually 2 of them, 2 of the 3, have been sentenced in federal court. I believe they did strike a plea bargain, because had they had gone to court and fought the case and still have been found guilty, they could have been sentenced anywhere between 5 to 6 years in federal prison, whether or not they set this fire intentionally or not. But anyway, it appears that they did strike a plea bargain. I know that one received a 6-month prison term. The second received a 5-month prison term. And I was able to find out, and I'm not including their names in this particular episode here, because that's beside the point. I mean, if you want to go ahead and do some research online like I did, you can just go ahead and put in your Google search engine, Colby Fire Update, and read the story yourself. Anyway, I did track these guys down, and 2 of them are now serving time in federal prison, and they will be getting out upon completion of their sentence. The 3rd individual is set to be sentenced very soon. And again, like I said, they could have received anywhere from 5 to 6 years in federal prison had they fought this case and saw it all the way through. It's a sad situation all the way around. Again, I don't think that these guys intentionally went up there to set the fire. I even wonder whether they realized that they were setting a campfire in a red flag zone. What I always encourage our listeners to do, I don't care what time of the year you're going camping, if you plan on going away, you know your destination you're going to go to. Always, before you go, do a little bit of research. Go online to NOAA.gov. That's NOAA.gov. That's the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration website. And you can put in a zip code, you can put in a city and state, you can find out what the weather forecast for the next 7 to 10 days is in your area. And you can also look at the map of the U.S. and clearly identify areas that have been flagged a red flag zone. And you'll know that these areas, you cannot build campfires. It's not worth the risk. Don't take any chances. Follow the law. Follow it to the letter. When you get to your campsite, don't hesitate to ask questions. You can never go wrong. Ask your campground host. Find the forest ranger in the area. Somebody will be able to give you guidance. I may sit here behind the microphone week after week and act like I know everything. No, I don't. I'm just a normal camper, an everyday camper like you. I have just decided to go ahead and take my show on the road here and take it to the airwaves and talk camping with fellow campers like yourself. Don't think that for 1 minute that when I get to areas where I'm going to go camping, if I don't know something, I'm going to ask some questions. I'm going to find out the do's and the don'ts. I'm going to find out what weather conditions are like. I'm going to find out maybe where the nearest convenience store is in case I run out of anything. I try not to. I try to take care of all of that beforehand because you've heard me brag on countless occasions with Daniel, because Daniel is the kind of a person, he just cannot sit still. I am waiting for him to come back in here and tell me from start to finish exactly what he did from day one all the way through to the end of his vacation when he decided to get inside of his vehicle and head on home. Myself, I prefer sitting by the campfire. So I'm going to try to gather as much of my supplies, as much of my firewood, everything that I need beforehand so I can take that time to relax and absorb all of the nature I possibly can within me and just push that stress that's on my shoulders all the way off and just forget about life as it exists for at least a couple days. What we're going to talk about today is alternative camp lighting. In some of our previous episodes, we have talked about lighting your campground, lighting your campsite. You don't want to go overboard. Of course, you don't want to be sitting in the dark. And there's a number of ways that you can actually enhance the lighting in your campsite, around your campsite. And again, like I said, I've spoke on numerous occasions in some of the previous episodes, and some of those enhancements have included lanterns, and we're talking the battery and the fuel-powered lanterns, torches. How many of you have tiki torches? I have 3 or 4. Really, you don't need that many depending upon the size of your campsite, because you'll be surprised at night when it gets pitch dark out. Those torches throw off a lot of light. You will be surprised if you've never used them before. But check out the campground that you're camping in. You may find somebody who is using tiki torches for the purposes of enhancing their campsite. 1 or 2 will probably do the job. How many of you have oil lamps? I'll tell you a funny story. Years ago, this particular campground, or should I say campsite that I'm going to with my friends this coming weekend, at one time, somebody actually built an outhouse. Where do you see outhouses these days? In the movies. Ever seen the movie Green Mile? Yeah, that one right there. They had featured that outhouse. And, think about this. If you go into an outhouse, it's not really the most sanitary place to use the facility. But once you get in there, you're still going to need a little bit of light. Whoever built this outhouse, and I'm going back several years now. Of course, it doesn't exist. They finally tore that down and took it on out of there. But when they built this outhouse, they made it a point when the sun went down, somebody would fill up an oil lamp, light it, and leave it lit inside that outhouse. So whenever you're in there doing your business, that you have a little bit of light. Those oil lamps come in real handy. And not just for the outhouses, but you can use them around camp too. And use it as an enhancement. How many of you have candle lighting? When I mean candle lighting, these are the type of electrical lights that are placed around the canopy of your RV, maybe on the canopy that's pitched above your table. Daniel, for example, has a nice set of canned lights for his pop-up camper. They are very colorful. They are in the shape of owls, and they let off some really good light. They accent his campsite very well. In fact, you may still see some pictures of that on our webpage at happycamperradio.com. Just go click on the camping pics and take a look at one of Daniel's recent camping trips. And he has, if I remember correctly, those canned lights on display. Some people even go as far as purchasing rope lighting. They're pretty nice too. The thing you got to keep in mind that you're going to need electricity if you're going to use that type of lighting, if you're going to be using canned lighting or rope lighting. So if you don't, if you're going primitive, that's not going to do you any good. You're probably going to have to keep them tucked away. They're, unless you want to put them out for decorations and just for the day side, because at nighttime you're not going to have any power. That is, of course, unless you have a portable generator. And some campgrounds have restrictions as to when and where you can use portable generators and when and where you cannot. Portable generators, they do make some of these whisper generators, but even then, they can be a little annoying if it comes down to quiet time, say maybe 10 o'clock at night. You don't want them running. So a lot of campgrounds will have electrical outlets and electrical powers at each individual site, and that's what a lot of people plug into. That's if you're into the RV scene, which I am not. Daniel is. He lives by it. He thrives for it. Some people are into the motorhome. Some people are into travel trailers. So, there's a lot of different ways you can light your electrical appliances, but chances are you're going to have to get a site that does have electrical power, and it'll probably cost you a few extra bucks if you want to go that route. I have actually pitched my tent at a site that had electrical power, even though I did not use it. The only reason I got that site is because it was convenient. It was by the lake. The scenery, everything, the atmosphere of that particular site was perfect. And that's where I wanted to be. It was worth the few extra bucks to camp there, even though I did not use electricity. So some of the other enhancements, hey, here's one more. The campfire itself. At nighttime, who would even think of going camping without lighting a campfire? I couldn't do it. I'm sorry, folks. No campfire, no camping for me. That's just the way it is. Now, here's something else I want you to consider, too. If you're camping and you have all of those things, maybe some of those things that I just discussed with you, some of the featured lighting that's going to enhance your campsite, think about this. What if you happen to step away from your campsite for whatever reason? Maybe you're going into the woods to gather some more wood. If you're doing that in an area that's permissible, you're going to need a flashlight, are you not? You're not going to go in there. You're not going to go in the woods in total darkness like you're blind and expect to be picking up wood. You never know what you might pick up otherwise. So you're going to want to take some flashlights with you. And it's always a good idea. I have always said, however many people you have in your camping party, however many members of your family there are, every person in your family should have an operable flashlight. Just because the flashlight worked before you left home doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work there once you get to camp. Don't forget the spare bulbs and the batteries. Some of these flashlights do have spare bulbs already inside. All you got to do is dismantle the flashlight and you'll find it. But if not, make sure you pick up a package of spare bulbs. Keep them in your camping supply box just in the event that the flashlight bulb goes out. Don't think they last forever either, because they don't. And make sure that you bring a fresh set of batteries for each and every flashlight that you're bringing to camp. Another option to consider. Have you ever seen those headlights? Those headlamps? The kind with the elastic band that goes around your head? This way your hands are free to do whatever. wherever you're looking forward, there is a light flashing in that direction or shining in that direction? Last year, I asked for one of these on my Christmas list, and I got it. I have not used it yet. It's going to come into use this weekend. Maybe I'll get somebody to snap a picture with it on my head. Probably make an improvement, probably over what you're looking at right now. But that's something you want to consider too. So, if you're going to have a lighting situation where you want to keep both of your hands free, this is a way to do it. Get one of those headlights with the elastic band that you put around your head. They don't cost a whole lot of money. You can get them in just about any hardware store, camping supply store, or even your local department store. You may find them there. Here's another thing that I have seen. And folks, let me stop here for a moment. If you think I'm sitting here thinking about these ideas simply by going to websites and looking and say, wow, hey, this is something I'd be interested in talking about on the show. No. All the years I have been camping, just about everywhere I went, I always see what other people are doing. And that's how I get ideas. And sometimes I will apply those ideas into my own situation. And if it works for me, I'm going to talk it up. I'm going to brag it up. Have you ever seen these lights that attach to your ball cap? Those things are neat too. The only reason I don't have one of those is because I'm not used to wearing a ball cap. They also have these disposable glow sticks where you bend, snap, and shake them up. And they often provide up to 6 hours of lighting. Another thing you can use, and this is not advisable, but I'm going to mention it anyway because some people will do it. Some people will use this as a form of lighting. And if you are a type of an individual, I want you to be extremely careful and cautious each and every time you use candles. I prefer leaving the candles at home. Plan ahead of time. Take advantage of some of the alternative camp lighting features that are available. Apply them to your individual situation, and you can't go wrong. Every time I go camping, I'm always trying to find something new, something to make my camping experience better than the one I had before. It's time now for our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. Daniel went camping, or should I say moteling, in the Tampa Bay, Florida area. He would not be very hard to spot if you were down there. Just look for the guy that's totally full of energy. But anyway, I'm not going to take you to that part of Florida. We're going to go up around the Pensacola area to Fort Pickens Campground. It is our featured campground of the week, and it is open year-round. This is a very large campground. You might want to go ahead and consider it if you plan on camping anytime in the winter. Let's just say you're not a winter person or a fall person like myself, but you do enjoy the hot temperatures. You're looking for a great getaway. This is it, Fort Pickens Campground in Florida. Fort Pickens sits on the Santa Rosa Island part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore. And it's a beautiful campground. Take a look at a couple of the pictures that they do have on their website. It's a great place to visit. A lot of activities and amenities for yourself and for the family. Accessible sites, beach access, biking, birding, boating, campfire rings. Got a lifeguard on duty, historic sites, gift shop, flush toilets. Check it out. We're going to have it on our homepage all week long for you to visit and consider as part of your camping experience for 2014 or 2015. Because it's open all year round. It's Fort Pickens Campground in Florida, and it is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And as always, if you have a campground that you would like Daniel and I to feature on the program, very simply, give me a shout. Skip, SKIP, at happycamperradio.com. Or Daniel at happycamperradio.com. He would feel left out if I did not include him, even though he's not on the show today. But we're going to have him back in the next couple weeks, and he's going to have a lot to talk about, I'm sure. Hey, don't forget, you can catch us online anytime at www.happycamperradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to your circles on Google+. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper. Daniel's a happy camper wherever he's at. And yes, my friends, you can be a happy camper too. We'll talk to you next week. Have a great one, my friends. This is Happy Camper Radio.